You always were funny, Bruce. Just like your father. He didn't mind rolling up his sleeves either, son. People underestimate the benefit of good old manual labor.
You won't believe what was hidden behind that iconic voice that has narrated our deepest thoughts and most profound documentaries for decades. While millions found comfort in his wisdom and gravitas, few knew the battles he fought in silence, the prejudice he overcame, and the pain he carried beneath that serene exterior. On screen, he was the voice of God, the wise mentor, the unshakable pillar of strength. In real life, Morgan Freeman was a man who clawed his way out of crushing poverty, faced rejection after rejection, and carried wounds that never fully healed. The contrast between the man we thought we knew and the person he truly was will leave you speechless. Memphis, Tennessee, 1937. The Great Depression had America by the throat, and for a young black boy born into sharecropping poverty, the American dream seemed like a cruel joke. Morgan's parents, Mamie Edna, a teacher, and Morgan Porterfield Freeman, a barber, struggled under the crushing weight of Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation throughout the South. When the pressure became unbearable, they moved to Chicago seeking work, leaving young Morgan with his grandmother. When she passed away, he reunited with his divorced mother, having learned early that survival meant being invisible, keeping quiet, and never expecting too much from a world that had already decided he didn't matter. But something burned inside this quiet boy from Mississippi. While other kids played in the dirt roads of their segregated neighborhood, Morgan found refuge in the local movie theater, mesmerized by the larger-than-life figures on screen, especially Sidney Poitier, who would become his lifelong idol. He would sit in the colored section, watching the same films over and over, studying every gesture, every line delivery, dreaming of a life beyond the limitations that seemed to be his destiny. His passion for performance emerged unexpectedly. In high school when, as punishment for pulling a chair out from under a classmate, he was forced to participate in a drama competition. He performed so exceptionally well that it sparked his interest in acting, revealing a talent that had been waiting to be discovered. The military became his escape route, but also his first crushing disappointment. At 18, Freeman enlisted in the Air Force, harboring childhood dreams of becoming a pilot and soaring above the racial barriers that confined him on the ground. But even in uniform, he discovered that some ceilings were unbreakable. For 4 years, from 1955 to 1959, he worked as a mechanic, watching white men live the dreams he wasn't permitted to chase. The disappointment carved something deep inside him, a quiet determination that would fuel his later performances, but also create an emotional distance that few could breach. When Freeman left the military, he made his way to Los Angeles to study, acting at the Pasadena Playhouse, and took dance lessons at Los Angeles City College. Hollywood in the 1960s had no place for a tall, dignified black man who refused to diminish himself for white audiences' comfort. He took any work he could get, joining the musical group Opera Ring as a dancer, performing in theaters, and even on street corners for spare change. In 1960, he moved to New York to pursue theater seriously, landing his first paying stage job in 1967 with The Nigger Lovers, a powerful play about civil rights starring Vivica Lindfors. But it was children's television that first brought Freeman into American homes. From 1971 to 1977, he appeared on PBS's The Electric Company, playing multiple characters including Easy Reader and Count Von Count. While this steady work provided financial stability, Freeman knew he was capable of much more. He continued, working in theater, appearing in an all-African-American production of Hello, Dolly! And later in Shakespeare's Coriolanus and Julius Caesar, the former earning him an Obie Award that validated his theatrical talents. The breakthrough everyone talks about came in 1987 with Street Smart, but by then, Freeman was 50 years old, an age when most actors are contemplating retirement. His portrayal of Fast Black, a volatile pimp, earned him his first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The overnight success that critics celebrated had taken 3 decades to achieve. The rejection letters, the humiliating auditions, the nights he chose acting classes over meals, all of it culminated in this moment of recognition that felt less like triumph and more like vindication. Success accelerated rapidly after that. In 1989, he appeared in 3 significant films: Glory, depicting the 1st African-American Regiment in the Civil War; Lean on Me, where he played educator Joe Louis Clark; and Driving Miss Daisy, his role as chauffeur Hoke Colburn, earning him a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, and his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor. Each role demonstrated his ability to bring dignity and depth to characters that could have easily become stereotypes in lesser hands. The 1990s established Freeman as one of Hollywood's most reliable and respected actors. He reunited with Clint Eastwood for Unforgiven in 1992, beginning a friendship and professional partnership that would span decades. In 1994, The Shawshank Redemption showcased his ability to embody hope and wisdom, earning him another Oscar nomination. The following year, C-17 proved his versatility in darker material, while Deep Impact in 1998 notably featured one of the first cinematic portrayals of an African American as President of the United States. Behind the scenes, Freeman was building more than just an acting career. In 1993, he stepped behind the camera to direct Boffa, demonstrating his commitment to telling meaningful stories. He also founded Revelations Entertainment with business partner Laurie McCreary, a production company dedicated to creating content that entertains while educating and inspiring audiences. The new millennium brought Freeman some of his most iconic roles. He portrayed God in Bruce Almighty, 2003, a performance that seemed to crystallize how America viewed him as a figure of ultimate wisdom and authority. His deep, authoritative voice became so synonymous with trustworthiness that it was eventually made available as a GPS narrator, allowing people to literally follow his guidance in their daily lives. In 2005, Freeman finally won the Oscar that had eluded him for decades, taking home the Best Supporting Actor award for Million Dollar Baby, his second collaboration with Clint Eastwood. At 67, he had reached the pinnacle of his profession, but he was far from finished. The personal costs of his journey were significant. Freeman's first marriage to Jeanette Adair Bradshaw lasted from 1967 to 1979, ending as his career demands intensified. His second marriage to Myrna Colley Lee, from 1984 to 2010, endured through his rise to stardom, but ultimately couldn't survive the pressures of fame. Throughout both marriages, he maintained relationships with his 4 children: Dina, whom he adopted from his first wife's previous relationship; Alfonso, from an earlier relationship; and Saifullah and Morgana from other relationships. The complexities of his personal life remained largely private, as Freeman developed a reputation for being intensely reserved and almost unreachable between projects. Few knew about his battle with fibromyalgia, a condition that left him in constant pain, but which he hid from producers who might consider him a liability. His stoicism extended beyond physical pain to emotional wounds that never fully healed from decades of having to prove his worth in rooms where he was often the only person who looked like him. In 2008, Freeman's life took a dramatic turn when he was severely injured in a car accident that left his left hand partially paralyzed. But true to his nature, he never complained publicly, never used his injury as an excuse to slow down. He wore a compression glove to hide the damage, maintaining the illusion of invincibility that his fans needed from him, even as simple tasks became daily challenges. Behind his success lay a deep commitment to social causes that reflected his own experiences with discrimination. He founded the Grenada Relief Fund to aid people affected by Hurricane Ivan in the Caribbean, later expanding it into Plan, now an organization providing disaster preparedness resources. In his home state of Mississippi, he co-owns Ground Zero Blues Club in Clarksdale, supporting the musical heritage of the Delta region. In 2007, he participated in a documentary about segregated proms in Mississippi, helping to produce an integrated prom that challenged decades of racial division. At 65, Freeman finally fulfilled his childhood dream of flying, earning his private pilot license and acquiring multiple aircraft, including a Cessna Citation 501 jet. The boy, who had been denied the chance to fly in the Air Force because of his race, now soared through the skies on his own terms, a powerful symbol of how persistence can eventually overcome even the most entrenched barriers. His achievements have been recognized at the highest levels. He received the Kennedy Center Honors, the AFI Life Achievement Award, and the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. In 2022, at age 85, he delivered a speech at the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, his voice once again providing gravitas to a moment watched by millions around the world. The man who made us believe in redemption through the Shawshank Redemption, who convinced us that hope could survive in the darkest places, had lived his own version of that story. Trapped for decades in an industry that saw his skin before his talent, he had maintained faith in his abilities when few others would. His real-life narrative was more compelling than any script he ever brought to life. They gave us comfort through that voice, narrating our dreams and fears, making sense of chaos through measured words and perfect timing. But behind the microphone was a man who had learned that true strength comes not from never falling, but from getting up every time the world tries to keep you down. Morgan Freeman didn't just entertain us, he showed us what dignity looks like when it refuses to be broken, what grace sounds like when it's earned through decades of perseverance, and what wisdom means when it's bought with a lifetime of experiences that tested every fiber of his being.